comments in here. Morning, everybody. We'll start the question. With allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we just come before you today, asking you to watch over this meeting of our commissioners. And thank you for the rain and the cooler weather, and just watch over all the citizens of our county as they go about their lives this week. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, good morning. I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from last week.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye. Make a motion, we approve the claims in the amount of $104,633.11.
I'll second. Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Got two abatements. Numbers 313 and 314, and the net change is a negative 59.30.
I'll make a motion that we approved the add and abates number 313 and 314 for a negative 59.30.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So, according to the Canvas rules, we're supposed to start before 10. So the way I had it scheduled was if you want to go ahead and do like the AMR or sheriff fire reports and then take care of that, that'll keep us on schedule.
For the canvas?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want, we've got, I think just this morning or yesterday, I posted the AMR report and sheriff's report this morning, and I just got fire a few minutes ago. So those are all there if you want to run through them real quick.
All right, AMR's here. We'll go ahead and have them come up and speak.
Good morning, Don Brooks with AMR. I've got the August monthly report. August 1st through the 17th, there were 2 calls in Blue Mound, 0 transports, 3 calls in Centerville, 0 transports, 7 calls in Lucene, 6 transports, 3 calls in Linn Valley, 3 transports, 14 calls in Mound City, 10 transports, 10 calls in Parker, 3 transports, 11 calls in Pleasanton, 6 transports, 2 calls in Prescott, 1 transport, for a total of 54 calls and 29 transports. You guys have anything else for me?
I don't.
I don't.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
All right, sheriff's report. We got 72 prisoners in, 14 released this past week. 1 farmed out, 52 farmed in, 68 911 calls, 4,593 jail contacts, 504 calls for service, 17 civil service papers served, 2 VIN inspections, 13 cases opened, 6 closed, 2 vehicle crashes, and 116 bailiff contacts, 6 livestock out.
So, fire I just posted on the SharePoint after we got here. I can just read through that if you want me to. He didn't send a full report, just an email. There were 6 calls this week, brings the total to 348. And then it says he's out of the office at training. Let me know if you have any questions from this week. Other than that, I've got the park report. If you guys want to review that, and then we'll be ready for get through that.
So 2024 park year-to-date report for the month of January or July. Our income totals 28,927.02 for year-to-date total of $174,199.34. Our expenditures for the month of July was $26,786.84. Year-to-date $165,043.50 with a gain of $9,155.84.
So are you guys ready for canvas then?
Yeah.
All right, so the first thing we need is a motion to recess from the Board of Commissioners meeting and reconvene as the Board of Canvassers.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Motion been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, and then I've got some stuff we need to review on that. So first of all, we're required to do an audit after the election. The Secretary of State sent the list of races. We had to audit the Democratic House District 2 race, the Republican State House District 4, and then for a county race, they gave us a list in order, and I was supposed to go until I found one where we had a contest. The first one on that was Republican Sheriff. So after determining those were the races we had to look at, we did a random drawing of what precincts to audit for those. And for the U.S. House Democratic, we got Liberty Precinct. For the State House number 4, we got Blue Mound. And for the Sheriff Republican, we got South Lincoln. So I had a board come in last week and hand count those races in those precincts. And then these sheets are the results of that audit. So on Liberty, my unofficial results from election night were 11 and 16 for Kleinman and Boyda. They counted and got 11 and 16. For Blue Mound State House, 80 and 23, and they got 80 and 23. For South Lincoln Sheriff, it was 69 for Aches, 10 for Huntley, and they got the same numbers. So everything matched when they did the hand count. So then after that, I had to send these sheets in to the Secretary of State's office. They have to approve our audit before we were allowed to canvass. And we did this Wednesday morning. We were done by around 11. At 11:38, I got an email back from the Secretary of State that says your audit's approved, you're clear to canvass. So that part's covered. We didn't have any problems with audit. And that was a bipartisan board that came in and did the hand count. I ended up with 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat on it. So everything went fine with that. And then the results from from election night, and then also some advance that came in at the polls that were counted the next day. I have sheets that will be the abstract. And if you guys want to review this, I can read off the machine totals that were printed out. Tell you in the top part here, there's some pages for Republican and some pages for Democrat. There's where they separate. This is Republican, this is Democrat. This is out of my reporting computer. So on election night, when the results come in, we have the sticks out of the scanners that have all the results. We plug them in the reporting computer. It totals everything and prints these reports out. So what I want to look at is go through this top section here on the Republican and on the Democrat. And I'm just looking for the totals in the far right column. Make sure they match what I've got on here. There's a ruler if you guys want to look at it.
What'd you say there?
So start up at the very top. The representative, and then we're looking for the number over here in the totals. If we do find something off, we'll have to review precinct printouts and find where the difference is. We've already looked at them in the office. I don't think there's any problem with one of you guys to look at it too. So for that first race, U.S. Representative District 2, I've got Schmidt, 989, Tiffany, 353, Young, 128, Cars, 206, and Ogle, 50. Then it goes to State Senator District 12, have Tyson, 1329, Kern, 435. We have State Representative District 4, James, 1140, Jones, 426. State Representative District 9, I have Gardner, 168. Commissioner District 2, I have Ernest, 214, Hamilton, 228, Leonard, 185. District 3 Commissioner, I have Johnson, 425, Morrell, 302. Then it gets into the other county offices. Clerk, I have Lamb, 1668. Treasurer, Reed, 1644. Registered Deeds, Schmitz, 1673. Attorney, I have Falls, 553. Meeks, 1061. Sheriff, I have Ake, 1530, and Huntley, 236. The rest of the printout is going to be township and precinct races. There were a whole lot of them that there was no one printed on the ballot, and the write-ins are a whole different kind of tally sheet. Do you guys want to look through all those, or do you want to have me read them, or how do you want to go about that part? I mean, I can tell you that there were no races in any of those with people running against each other. The ones that are vacant would be write-ins, and that could change after canvass today because we've got provisionals. So I can't even determine winners in parts of that until after we do canvass.
Okay.
I mean, if you're okay with those results, we can go ahead and look at the Democrat sheet. And really on that one, there's only one race clear through county level, and that is U.S. Representative District 2. And I have Kleinman with 53 and Boyda with 108. So any questions or anything you'd like to review any more on that?
Looks like it matches up.
Okay. You're good with those. We'll go on then and let's see. Before we get into provisionals, if you're satisfied with the printout result, I need a motion to approve the post-election audit results, which was the first sheets I went over with you. And let's see, well, that would be the first thing, just to approve the post-election audit results.
I'll make a motion that we approve the post-audit election results.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been moved second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, so then the next thing I want to talk about is provisional ballots. Thank you. So we had a total of 52 provisional ballots from all polling places. I have gone through and looked at those envelopes. The envelopes are here with me. Nothing has been opened. We're just judging by the information on the envelope and comparing it to that voter's record to see if they should count or not. After going through that and looking at all 52, I have 39 that I'm going to recommend that we count. And the reasons on those provisionals, 17 of them were address changes. So it was people already registered in the county but had moved, so they just needed to update their address. 6 were name changes. So typically if somebody got married and hadn't re-registered and changed their name yet would be the main thing there. I had 2 that were name and address changes. We had 3 that were either poll worker or election office errors, just the way their record was in the system. But we looked at those, the people were registered, so they should count. And then we had 11 that were because of party affiliation. Those didn't even need to be provisional. They could have just filled out a party affiliation card. However, in a couple of locations, the workers had them do the provisional process. So that's the 39 total that I'll recommend should count. And then there's 13 that should not count. There were 6 people who simply were not registered to vote in the county. We had one other one that was just an error, and a voter came in and voted and came back and said they didn't think they had, so they let them vote again provisional. Well, I looked, they'd already signed in the book, so there was no reason to count the provisional on that one, just some confusion with the voter. And then there were 6 that were party changes. So on that, if you were unaffiliated on election day, you could fill out a card, affiliate with a party, and vote a regular ballot. However, you're not allowed to change from one party to another on election day. And I had 6 people that voted that came in and wanted to change parties, so they had to do provisional. So I would also recommend that those don't count. Is there any questions on what we go through on that or how we look at them?
Nope.
So from that, I would make the recommendation that we do not count the 13 on this list for the reasons I gave you, and count the remaining 39. And if you're okay with that, I just need a motion to accept my recommendation on which ones to count.
I'm okay with it. You guys good?
I'm good with it.
I'll make a motion that we accept David's recommendation on the 39 to count and 13 not to count.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so then the other thing we need to do is we need to go over and open the 39 that are going to count and run them through the scanner. Once we run them through, we can get a report out of that, and I'll be able to update the totals on all the races. So if you're ready to head across the street for that, we can go do that. And then once everything is totaled, and if there are write-ins on those, I'll have to have a board probably this afternoon come in and tally the write-ins. So I won't actually have the abstract sheets ready until later. And what we've done in the last few elections is just have you move to approve after we're over there the results, and with the results of the provisional being added, and then I'll bring it back in for signature next week. So if you guys are okay with that, we can head across and go open that stuff up.
You can watch that.
She comes back crying. Yeah.
Please take your phone. But it's
I feel bad, yeah, but I take it back here. You can bet there's. When you take those seats fill up. Oh, yeah. Oh, goodness. What a beautiful day.
She also runs. She's. But you saw where you see. That's what they. So.
It's very. Section. Ted only. He was really so good. I thought. So I chunks.
It's and she texted me and she said, she was dragging stuff up. She said, I said, I don't know what you're talking about. She said, I texted you. And she did, honestly, was talking to some at the time. Yes, but we said thumbs up. So I see. I could have let other trucks and stuff too. They were
But you're here now.
I said, whatever they're, he is really not. The people.
I seen an issue because so I didn't know that you posted it. So you know that.
She, I would agree. That's, but my wife, just, she keeps him. And well, she didn't like us. She said. She said, sure. It's not. All of those meetings. I mean, it bucks it up. But so that this has turned into so it's called. So
You know what I mean? Because that's what I thought.
So no. Pretty close. So it's it's two. So that's just.
How are you?
Yeah. He's real.
Sorry, you guys.
Well, you know, there are.
Next commissioner.
Lost Danny. All right, so I've got one more motion I need you guys to make to wrap this up today. So, and I'll just go ahead and state the only race that we were looking at the county level that was close enough that it even could have made a difference was District 2 Commissioner, and the result did not change on that race. In fact, the margin got 1 vote wider. So that wraps that one up. So all I need at this point then would be a motion to approve the election abstract with the results of the provisional ballots, adjourn the Board of Canvassers meeting, and reconvene the Board of Commission meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, and then I will bring that updated canvas over next week for signatures after we put all these results in with it. So that's all I've got then on elections for today. I also just got an email from Amanda. She was on the agenda for 10:30 today. She's had something come up at the office and is not going to be able to make it.
We'll go ahead and open it for public comment at this time. If you have a comment, please come up, state your name. Try to keep it in 5 minutes, please.
Tom Kemper again, Parker. I made a comment here a couple weeks ago about Danny wanting to remove Charlene Sims for being closed-minded. Jim thought it was wrong and wasn't going to second the motion. I question if that would change after the election. I see a lot of closed-mindedness on this commission. When you say you only get information from the anti-solar people, how can you make a good decision? How can you make a good decision when you just listen to pro-solar groups? You have to be open-minded to make a good decision. Danny complains about some of the comments from his kids. What about the kids of some of these employees and the shenanigans you guys create? It's unfortunate that happened. However, whenever you take a position that you're in,
No,
you're going to have a little, hey, I don't interrupt you.
No, you're not going to talk about my kids. Go on with your comment. It
Okay.
has nothing to do with you.
Well, if you listen, I was trying to help you.
I don't need your help.
Okay. Anyways, you're open to more scrutiny when you're in this position. Okay. This can be mitigated by making good decisions every week. Okay. Danny says no one wants to do this job. There are people all over this country in every county doing this job. We are fortunate to be able to govern ourselves. Here again, if we make good decisions, this is not so problematic. My mom told me growing up, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Okay? You guys say you're all about saving the taxpayers' money. I think that's great. I hope you save enough to pay for some of this employee turnover, legal expenses, lawsuit settlements. Another topic, it seems like you prefer not to listen to legal advice. Another example of making poor decisions. Another great way to put financial burden on the taxpayers. Then there's a comment about Danny didn't know about sheriffs and photos. Just asking, who pays for your county phone? Also weird that two of you guys used to like to use the word transparency 3 or 4 times a Monday. I haven't heard that word since the phones came up. Next topic, Cora. Any reasonable-minded person might think you're trying to hide something when you delete a text or refuse to comply with the phone data. I have a copy of the Cora. I've read a little bit. What stands out to me is that there's 2 phone numbers in the same text thread. Think about this. If you're making good decisions, when that first text thread came through, you'd have stopped it. Didn't happen. There's multiples. Okay? Making proper decisions could have stopped some of this talk. Also subject to Cora policies came up. You guys seem interested in the policy. Are you going to try to modify the policy? Danny rants about how unprofessional Linn County Journal is. It's like the pot calling the kettle black. He makes rude comments. He interrupts. He makes childish comments, foul language in open session. I can only imagine how he's like behind closed doors. Let's talk about public comment. The policy, I think, is 1 per meeting. Pretty sure you're supposed to stand up here like the rest of us. Pretty sure you only get 5 minutes. Last week, you went over. Okay? Here again, interrupt. Okay? Jim complains that he's compared to Larry Hall. Look at your actions. Look at your similarities. Both papers have made the same comments. Other people are saying the same thing. Looks like a duck, walks like a duck. It's probably a duck. You say you ask the tough questions, aren't afraid to take controversial issues, but last week you pressured Jason to make the second on the removal of Charlene Sims. Jim's bashing the sheriff's office, talking about money and grants. I haven't heard yet today. I think they got a prestigious award. For excellence. I wonder if the Linn County Commission will ever get an award for excellence. I ran into a friend of mine.
You're running out of time.
Okay, last one. I ran into a friend of mine the other day. They work in the the Miami County county office, and every Monday morning they tune into this for the Monday morning comedy show. Pretty freaking embarrassing.
We're probably trying to listen to what you have to say. Anybody else?
Scott Woods. I know the road crews have been getting a lot of heat the last several months, but I'd like to give Jesse Walton and his crew some props. They've been out on East 1800 Road for the last few weeks, and they've done a hell of a job out there. So I think they're making progress, and I just wanted to give them some props. So that's all I got.
Thanks, Scott.
Any more? All right, we're closing public comment. All right, Sean?
Sean West, Public Works Administrator. You get the job descriptions in your folders. We can go over those later at your convenience, but between other things, we were unable to get that slotted on the agenda, but we still need to address those. You have HVAC cost estimates. Those are merely estimates, not a bid. Those are rough numbers, but what we should plan for, or at least try to set back in those line items or in a total line item for all of those under a building fund. And I don't know how you want to do that or address it, but you should have all of those HVAC estimates for those 8 units. Rock testing, I've made contacts with both companies, been in communication with one as late as this morning. I have one estimate. I do not have the other. I'll give you both when I have them both, and I can read them both out loud. We have a burial permit, one of 2. Only one will be before you today. The one that's going before you is burial permit 2024-06. This is Linn County Rural Water 2 going across Nickel Road, approximately 600 feet south of 1150. You'll notice the check is for a different amount, but they also wrote one check for a building permit as well. And this is a single water line bore underneath Nickel Road by Rural Water 2 that has been done on multiple occasions. They're very well aware of our standards, and we've had no issues, and I don't anticipate any from this request.
See that?
You guys got any?
I'll make a motion if you guys are okay with it. to approve burial permit 2024-06 for Linn County Rural Water District Number 2.
I'll second. Motion been moved and second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I wasn't paying attention. I'm good with it.
Did they sign that, John, anywhere?
Yes.
Yes. That's fair. John Jay.
Okay, the second, we don't have a burial permit number on this one yet, and haven't completed the request or pushed it out to the foremans because I have a meeting with the project manager tomorrow afternoon at the job site to go over our requirements. I've spoken length with the project manager about this project and the issues we've had. This is a fiber optic burial. This is going to be 1850, and it will go north from 1850 near 1095, going east to Perry Lane, and then go north on Perry Lane. This is for a tower site in that area. And again, I spoke with the project manager for this. They're the third-party check. They will have a contractor installing the line. They also are working for a company that's putting in the tower site. And I advised them that I would need contacts for all three in management for all three businesses, and that he and I would have to walk the site, and that you may require a bond. Even though the project along 1850 is several hundred feet or yards, it's not a long stretch, and then it turns north and goes up Perry. I don't anticipate a large issue there because you'll already see they're going from an existing handhole, and these things are off of the roadway. They do anticipate you asking for a bond as well, which they are completely okay with, and understand the issues that we've had and are willing to work with us through the process, even though it is a very short burial. So if there are any concerns that I need to take with them to the meeting tomorrow, other than the concerns we've had, the possibility of a bond on the project or surety, please advise me now, and I'll bring those items to bear at the meeting tomorrow before I bring them in here and have them come back with their burial permit.
I think the bond would be a good start to making sure that things are accomplished. So,
The question I would have on that, because we normally haven't dealt with that, would be, I'm thinking you're going to want a percentage of what they're going to pay the contractor in materials and labor to install it. So a percentage of this project. And I would think if the bond was going to be put in, that we'd want at least 50% or more of the cost of the project for the bond.
I think that would be larger than what would be typical.
I don't think you need 50%.
It's rather short. I don't think it's going to be a large project. And if we hit lines or do any damage, I'm concerned with on a large project, I would agree, but this one's rather short. Or I can bring that number back to you and then have you tell me or them what they need to complete in order to get the permit.
Well, they're liable for anything they hit off the one call system. I mean, as far as, if they have to put a one call system in,
Right.
or one call into the system. It has to be marked. But I think 50% is too high.
I agree with that 50% is too high.
Would you like me to bring a number back from the meeting, or would you like to pick a number now?
I think probably bring a number back from the meeting, I'd say. What do you guys think?
I'm good at that.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I think that it's going to depend on the size of the project, like you said, and things that way.
I think the biggest damage risk is you're talking about maybe personal property as far as fencing or entrances, tubes, things of that nature, because they're going parallel with 1095. So we're not talking a lot of entrances, but as Jim noted, on one call, they're damaged. Any other utility is their responsibility. So we're talking about pretty much holding them accountable for the proper burial of the lines away from our roadways and our infrastructure, and not doing damage to private entrances as they go down that line. So what that number would be and how big this project is and what the cost is, I can't tell you.
Okay.
But if you'd like me to bring a number back, is there any other concerns that I need to relay to the foreman? As I said, the job site foreman, they're going to be the third party check on their contractor. And then we'll have contacts for the contractor, the job site foremans or supervisors, and the company doing the install or owning the project, which should eliminate a lot of the issues we went through on the last couple. I'll report back next week. Hopefully we'll bring that in and have them meet with you next week. If not, I'll report back. We'll come up with a number and we'll bring them in the following week. I just don't know what the timelines on their project or what the necessity is. I have a written bid for the courthouse stairs from Ryan Walker. I think you've got it in your packets. Tear out and replace front steps at $5,000. Tear out and replace back door steps at $7,000. Total for the project is $12,000.
We're clear on everything that dealt with him. That
Yeah, yeah,
we're clear on everything that we need.
yeah. I don't know where.
It's under Ryan Walker bid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm good with it. I talked to him a few different companies, and he was really willing to respond. He came out and looked at it and got us to where we are right now. So, and this is something that's been kind of an emergency repair for over there that they've been
Right.
really needing to get done. So
Let's get it taken care of.
he's anticipating starting when?
He said tomorrow if we got it approved today.
All the better. I'll make a motion, we accept the bid from Ryan Walker Flat Work in the amount of $12,000 for the replacing the front and back door steps at the courthouse.
I'll second it.
Motion to move and second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We need to sign that or anything, Sean? Or?
You or I, one, can sign off on it and give it to David.
You're gonna contact him and tell him to go ahead?
I will make contact. That's your copy. 900 Road, the Corps of Engineers has issued the last permit on that project. As I told you last week, we were waiting on that. We've already got water resources permit, so we've got the second permit on the project. Now we're waiting on bids on culvert pricing. Once we get those, we should be opening those within a couple weeks, get those approved and get them ordered, and we'll be on track for the project. When we originally discussed the project, we discussed the engineer going out to bid on those things. But we were talking sectional culvert or concrete culvert sections at that point. He advised it would not be cost effective to have him bid culvert prices on steel culverts when we deal with those companies on a regular basis. So we've advertised and got that process moving as we believed it was prior to. We should have those in a couple of weeks. 1077 and 900 Road. As you remember, this is a culvert section that collapsed, was dug out, repaired, and the issue we've run into is it continues to settle in that area, and we continue to put cold patch on top of it. The foremans went and looked at it. They're telling me what they want to do is pull that section out, pull all of the gravel and the clay that was used to pack those pipes back out, and put nothing but gravel back into it. I have a bid or quote from Foley. It looks like for a week for a flat plate compactor that would fit our X's, that we can go back in with gravel. And for $819 for a week, we can take a flat plate compactor, and they want to pack that gravel back into that area, let it set, repack, and continue to let it set after they roll it. Mark the area as they did 1095 previously on a section like this, and let it compact until we can get hot mix next spring. Now that'll leave the section open to gravel for a short 5-6 foot area that is compacted and should not be a hazard once it's marked. But without hot mix to go back over the top of it, what we're looking at is creating a bump with cold patch in there and trying to roll it out. They're telling me if we go back and plate it or compact it with the plate, that the gravel will set with the clay knot in the bottom of it that is pushing out. The gravel will set, it'll firm up, and we'll be able to continue to repack it as needed until we can get hot mix on it and mark it as a hazard. I don't see an issue. I've seen this done multiple times. I don't see an issue, but it will have to be marked for speed and notify the drivers that it is open. They're ready to start this and get this process moving next week if we're agreeable about the process.
Where have you seen it done this way?
Several projects in city areas that I used to work in left those areas to let the drivers compact the gravel without the clay in it. That gravel is going to pack tighter. Then they go back through, and same as we would continue to re-gravel it as needed as it packs in, so that we don't create what we have now, which is a settling. The clay is being pushed down, bringing the gravel down, bringing the cold patch down.
So are we gonna have to bring in that packer every so often? How many times
No.
are we gonna be?
No, this is a one-time rental because we have a compactor, a plate compactor, but the north shop mechanic is working with Foley to make sure that we do not void the warranties and that we get the right adapters to put this on our equipment, because it was purchased used for the backhoes. It will not just marry up to the X's that we have now. So I anticipate once we go through that process, we'll be able to use that without voiding the warranty on our equipment. But I don't think we want to connect it to our equipment for this one project, do damage to that equipment, and then have to suffer the cost.
So we'll repack it in and then we'll leave it sit with signage and stuff that way. And then the next time we've got somebody coming through to hot mix.
Next time we have hot mix available, we do not have hot mix available, from what I'm being told, close enough to do this project this late in the year. Lewisburg,
It's not us. We're not waiting for us to bring in a contractor. We're waiting for some contractor to be close enough that they can.
we're waiting for hot mix to be available close enough to bring it in and put it down.
Okay.
And the compaction to be complete, so we make sure the settling's done on the project. The tubes haven't moved. It's the clay and the material that are holding it in is what I'm being told.
You guys good with it?
I am.
I'm good with it.
Parker,
Falling in, I know that.
I'm sorry, I've started to go ahead. Parker compactor, that was an issue most of last week. Had a couple incidents with the electrical up there. Some storms went through. At one point, we were trying to get contractors to come out and look at the equipment, but realized that one half of the service coming into the building, the disconnect was out on it. So we had to call the electric company, got that going, looked at the fuses. IT was a great help and got us going. And was able to look at the control panel and the fuses, got us going. It lasted for about 2 hours on Saturday, and went back down again. I don't know whether it's a fuse or anything. I'm going to have the company, Midwest, come in and look at it. Al's supposed to be contacting them this morning, but because this compactor has given us this type of trouble, I would like to get a bid on not replacing the compactor, but the control panel. The board, trying to figure a way to describe this. The board itself, you're talking about just basically a switch running forward and reverse, throwing the hydraulic back and forth, and then an on and off switch. Not very complicated, but it has a control board in it that does it automatically when it's not in the hand mode where you're doing it manually. And that control board's been burnt out and circumvented for some time. This machine and that control panel have been a nightmare for quite some time, and we've been scabbing it together with what we've got for parts, and they've been down several times recently because of this control board or this panel. I would like to go out, talk to the company, not about replacing the motor or the machine or the hydraulics, but just this control board and what a newer piece of technology would be to go in and operate the system, because we are putting a lot of resources going back and forth trying to keep this thing running.
I'm okay with getting a bid.
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it.
Okay. Location and cost task summaries were sent to you. Service request since first of the year to current at 376 total, 338 closed, 38 remain open. Service requests received 812 to current, 8 new requests, 4 still open.
I've got a question about them. Why, just like last week, what we talked about that had been brought to you guys' attention in February, then again 2 weeks ago. Where are we dropping the ball at?
I don't know that we're dropping the ball as far as the service requests. They're prioritizing those.
Well, when he reached out to you in February, nobody even talked to him. 2 weeks ago, he reached out again. And our people, I was told our people said, I haven't taken care of that yet. Nobody got it with him then. And then the minute I call, we're out there that day taking care of it. So do you go out on every service request?
I do not.
Well, why'd you go out on that one? That's my question. Why did you jump? Why did you stop what you're doing to go out on one that was 6 months out that hadn't been taken care of?
I would say the same reason you contacted me on my time off for it, because you saw it as a necessity
It's exactly.
to find out.
Bothered over something that was 6 months old. I have concerns.
So for the same reason, I went out to look at it, speak to.
Where's it getting dropped at then? We're working on it today?
No, they went out today to check it, ran the grader down it, and that hillside was too wet to work it for what they want.
Worked it today if we wouldn't have been.
We would have worked it
Okay,
today.
So why did it go from not a necessity to a necessity so quick, I guess is my question.
Well, the owner or the complainant on this was pulling out crops and the
Exactly. He reached out to you in February and nobody got with him. 2 weeks ago, he reached out to you again and nobody got with him. It took a phone call from me to you on a after hours in order to get it taken care of.
I would say if you're asking for an accurate answer or for me to answer your question, that's going to require me to be able to talk.
You can talk.
Well, I've made several attempts.
This is a concern. This isn't the first time we just kicking the can down the roads on things that people are reaching out for. Work orders.
Okay.
And I can go and I can write you a whole stack of them if you want them. The things and that was way before the storm in February. Was the first time he reached out to you. Long time before the storm.
Okay. You reached out to me. I reached out to a foreman. We both reached out to the property owner or complainant, set a time to meet with them, looked at what he was talking about as far as some old ditching, a culvert that was scheduled to be replaced years ago, but the culvert was set out and then apparently stolen long before my time here. As the project was lined up, the culvert ends were buried. The roadway is passable, but it has damage because the culvert ends are buried. It is being worked and has been worked and is passable, but it was not a priority until we spoke to the property owner, looked at the issues that he's going to have pulling his crops out, discussed the timeline that he had for that, and then he put it on the list, and how he puts that on and prioritizes that, and when he prioritizes that.
He hadn't even talked to him. This is my discussion. He reached out in February and reached out 2 weeks ago, and nobody had reached out to him. Nobody.
You are correct.
So where are we dropping the ball at? If somebody's putting in a work order, why didn't we reach out to him in 6 months?
I can't answer to
Well,
you.
you're the boss, so you should be answering.
I can't,
You are in charge of what we're doing.
again,
Guys, what do you think, Danny?
I think this goes back to us having a list of priorities on days. I mean, so when they put in an order, do we tell them when we're going to get there? We just say,
Nobody had reached out to him in 6 months. No one.
yeah, I think we should have some kind of system where, like 2 days a month, we have a crew working on.
we send out, Joyce does, those lists of pending work requests and check on those, and I believe it's every 30 days.
Well, this has been over 6 months.
And each month, the foremans go back through their priority list, reorganize that priority list, and if anything was dropped, it was not letting the reporting party know where he sat on that priority list.
He hadn't been reached out to.
And I would agree with that.
That's what I'm saying. We're dropping the ball somewhere.
So what can we do about it? What do you guys want to do about it?
The only thing that I could suggest that when we send out the list is requiring the foreman who update those lists, they type in messages as far as what they see that may be different. I think the roadway number on this one was half mile off from the interpretation of the party that gave the report to the person that enters it, to the foreman that goes and checks it, was a half mile off of the original roadway that the property owner wanted worked in the first place.
Solve the issue if we got a hold of whoever got a program where we got a hold of the person that
And again,
Request.
made the request.
each month when we send out those to check the status of those and notify those foremans, all we have to do is ask those foremans or require those foremans to make contact and note that on those requests, because they get to type when they're closed or where they're at on those or what they're doing with those requests and to send those back. But with the workload that we're facing the office, there is absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to make the contacts that I do and to check.
That's your job to
every-
make it. You have a road boss there to make the contact, is the way I look at it. You don't go out on everyone. You just told me that, so.
No, I do not.
You're the one in charge of making sure that got done.
All of the foremen should be in charge of making their
Who's requiring them to do that, I guess, is what I'm saying.
We are.
Who's we?
We, as in myself and you, whatever
No, you're
Hollis.
supposed to take care of what they do, right? You answer to us, they answer to you.
And
That's the way I feel. What do you guys think?
at what point during the day am I going to check all of these things with the task list that you have given me?
It's your job to get it done, Sean.
I think I'm probably the only one that comes in here with a full agenda every week for hours. And if you're asking me to go out and recheck everyone's
I'm trying to
work
make sure
as well,
everybody's job done.
that's impossible.
That's all the questions I have. That answered mine.
So like on days like today, where, well, in your notes, it says roads have been too wet to grade. What are they working on? What do they got going on?
I think we could be talking to landowners on work orders myself, days like today. We could have grader operators and other people out looking at them, could we not? If we're not using equipment, we have a whole list of them.
Today, you have 2 operators sick in the south shop, 1 at a doctor's appointment, 1 on personal leave. You have 1 sick in the Pleasant shop and 1 that had a accident on the way to work with a deer this morning and is on days off taking leave this morning. You have 6 operators out of 2 shops. I didn't get to check with the north shop this morning due to timesheets that had to go in by 9, but you have 6 operators total gone this morning. You have 2 pieces of equipment that went down this week, 1 with an injector and 1 with a main gear running the mow board or plow board. That's going to I'll have to bring cost estimates back to you next week on what the repairs on that will be, or the replacement if you choose to replace it, because it will be a pricey fix.
So are these foremen in each shop, are they aware of what their daily duties are? I mean, are they? I mean, are they up to par? Do they know what's going on? I mean, are they, if they're not reaching out to landowners?
I would say they make contact with several of the landowners, but as those projects come up, I can't tell you each time they make contact because I don't see that. I see the original request on the road complaints or the complaint forms and the service requests that go out to them. But I'm also currently not only in the list of emails and things that I'm dealing with, I'm currently having to do all the ordering and check Jessica's emails as well and have those routed to me to do those in the morning before I start work. So again, this is one of those things that when we assign a task out to someone, if we want them to make contact within 3 days of every service request, that's something I just need to tell them that they're going to have
That's
to
what I'm asking.
put on every ticket
Do we need
and
to
say,
figure this out?
I don't care when you put it on your priority list, but you will make contact within the first 3 days and note it back on the service request.
Would you feel at 6 months, not getting in contact 6 months, and he comes in again in 2 weeks and we still don't give contact? Is the system broken?
I don't know that the system's broken, but I think we dropped the ball on that one. I mean, that's pretty obvious.
Is there anything that you're doing that these foremen can take over to make your life a little easier right now while we figure this all out?
I'm doing the paperwork part of this. Joyce and our office staff, I'm doing the back end of what they're
I
doing.
mean, are you having to reach out to them and get the info, or are they bringing it to you? I mean, is there anything they can do to make it easier on you to make this?
Everything that that can be done, they are doing, along with their mechanics and getting a lot of the background bids for the repair work and things that I need to present to you. These guys are diving in where they can. So all I'm telling you is the expectation that there's time to check everything and recheck everything is we're going to have to put in place a mechanism where we get some response and some documentation and some accountability, but I cannot spend my whole day rechecking these things because I just don't have that timeline.
I'm not asking you to, Sean. I think we're dropping the ball as far as the road boss, not if he gets the work order, at least reaching out to somebody.
And I would
That's what
agree
I
that,
think. When
that we
go
should,
that long and don't reach out, and he comes back again and we still don't reach out, we have an issue.
I believe we should ask them to make contact, whether the project's going to be slated for a year later.
A phone
We,
call is all this is taking.
we should ask them to make contact and note it on that service request that they contacted that party. So at least we know they spoke to the property owners.
I agree with
And
that.
that is not something we've asked for in the past, but I believe it is
If you
reasonable.
give the property owner a telephone number, then he knows who to reach back to. If it doesn't get done, right?
So what's our conclusion here? What are we going to do to make this better?
Make them reach out to each service request.
I would say the service request should be at least called and talked to about to the, whoever put the service request out there should be a telephone number left when they do their service request, and we should reach out to them if we're not going to get to it in 2 weeks, 2 months.
Good with that, Sean?
I'm good with it, and I'm also good with requiring that to be entered back in on the ticket. So on the back end, if that person were to call here, Joyce would be able to look at it and say, hey, I don't see where they've contacted this person before. Or this person's been contacted and they entered these notes, but they still want to talk to you because apparently there's some disagreement about the priority. But if those notes are entered in, it's going to make it a lot easier. And we would be effectively using that system a lot better than what we're using it now.
All right, we'll get that done. You guys good?
Yes.
I'll send out the email this week. I told you, South Shop had a grader, 321. It went down with a bad injector. The replacement was back ordered through Foley through September 23rd. They found parts elsewhere. They got in their 5-foot tubes Wednesday, and they're scheduling to replace 2 of the 5-footers next week, which would be this week. Had operators removing fallen limbs from roadways and crews working to replace some missing signs. We've had normal operations outside those. Mowing is progressing well. All 3 mowers have been mowing from Bourbon County line, moving north. Having said that, we've also had some service requests, or at least one that I put in that was north of that location for those mowers, because we are just now moving off the blacktops onto gravel with those 3 mowers in that district. North Shop grading roads took place Monday, Wednesday afternoon, worked on potholes with graders. Roads have been too wet to grade. We've noted roads that need to be worked on. Friday, we should have all the graders out working on roads. Mowing took place every day. Ditched on Monday, 1800 Road. They have a half-mile left to go on that stretch of road. Trimmed trees back on this roadway with the excavator so they could finish ditching, and they've trimmed about 4,500 feet of trees along that roadway. cleaned up several trees by the end of the week, which fell over due to storms. Had one grader in the shop for maintenance. This is a grader that I told you we're going to have some cost or maybe look at replacement cost for it because there is a gear that is working on the main brass gear that runs the mow board for this thing. And that part is stripping away at the brass itself and thinning out the material. You also were given photographs. I believe this is the project that the gentleman spoke about earlier. You should have photographs of the tree work, the ditching, and the road work along 1800 that was sent out in your packet. Pleasanton, backhoe was repaired, working on project planning. I've met them to discuss the senior center parking lot and other projects such as 900 Road. They're mowing blacktops and they've got blades running the majority of the week. Currently, because of the weather and not being able to do a lot of other things, they're taking service requests today for pothole patching, which is something they can do in this type of wet weather and still be effective in the shop. As far as the landfill goes, I have the scope of service for Terracon that you discussed last week. And with the scope of service, Tony did want me to advise you to recall the discussion that there is not listed, but is contracted by us. You'll see they manage Cornerstone, which is the surveyor on this project. But what you will not see on there is our cost for that, which will be approximately $5,000 added to the 16 that is noted on that service, our scope of service. So above and beyond what you see on the scope of service, this project will have approximately $5,000 in surveying fees coming directly from us to the surveyor.
So that's 25 beyond this 27, right? Or
That we'd already spent.
oh, that's for this, right?
Yes.
I think if you look at the new scope of service, he's drilled down on the cost. I believe one line item that I read this morning on it was 16. And then add the 5 for our surveying.
Okay, so this is not the same as this.
Oh, it's not?
No. So this is what they'd sent out the first time.
This one that we have on.
Yes, on the screen.
So the SharePoint is
Yes.
the first one, not the second one?
Yeah.
It's quite possible with 2 of them on the screen. If you noticed, I had to send out 2 zip files with everything this week. It's quite possible I pulled
The wrong one.
the wrong one and shoved it back on there. So your cost on that one was brought in at 16 and then 5 for surveying coming out of pocket.
Okay. Which is what we talked about last week.
Right.
Okay. Got to keep that project moving forward on the cell expansion. Right?
Did he give anything for the future services? I mean, I know we had He
I-
didn't really have an estimate for it.
Think, as you discussed, there's going to be a point at which when he finishes up the first half of this on there that he talks about giving you the future services. But until he gets to that point, he's unable to give you any accurate estimate on it.
Yeah, last week in the meeting, he said 15 to 20,000 for the future.
I'm good with it. You guys?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Terracon supplement to agreement for services in the amount of 16,000 with an additional 5,000 for the survey.
I'll second. Motion been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Along with that, Terracon is planning on completing the 30-year groundwater monitoring event at Linn County Landfill on Thursday, the 22nd. They'll send a fieldwork notification to KDHE. They'll be on site the day before and hope to finish up the project on Thursday. Again, this is the 30-year groundwater on that project. I cannot tell you until we complete that. I think we've discussed this in the past, how long that groundwatering or water monitoring would have to go before the state allowed us or KDHE allowed us to close that out. Hopefully, we'll have some answers after this testing.
It'll depend on how that test comes out, will it not?
I believe so. Sherry did some background work on porta potties at the park. You'll see we currently are paying approximately $4,302 a year in our billing cycle for renting and servicing those porta johns. She has found a service where if we purchase the porta johns, that we can have them serviced for a lot less cost. The total, and it goes through and breaks it down. We estimate $1,500 for a handicap porta john cost, $700 for a standard. We already have a third because it came from one of the compactor sites. So it leaves our purchasing at $22. And then a yearly agreement, every 2 weeks, 3 porta johns, on a 28-day billing cycle at $150 a cycle at $19.55 yearly. So your total cost compared to this year in leasing porta johns and having the company that we lease from clean those at $43.02, your first year would be $41.95, and your second year pumping only after owning them would be $19.95. So we cut our cost and our porta john service in half.
What is the life expectancy of the porta potties?
If we own them,
Yes.
I couldn't answer to all of that. I can tell you that the repairs on them, I would expect that because they're just a plastic shell with the ends tied in, basically pop riveted together, that unless we had a vehicle strike it, or in one event, I can think where a porta john wasn't staked down near the boat ramp, we had a large wind event and it rolled across the parking lot. So unless something like that were to occur, I would think that, you're going to get, even out of a used one, you're going to get several years out of it. So even the first year, we're going to be a little bit under what we pay now. And every year that we get out of those, you're going to save half the cost of those. So I, I would think you could get out of moderate use 5 to 7 years, maybe even 10 out of one of those. So
Do we own the porta pots around other places we have this, or do we rent them?
we own one, the compactor site in Parker, because I just had to replace it and make it ADA compliant. I believe we own the other compactor sites, but have a service agreement. I would have to check about owning those on all of them, but have a service agreement to have them cleaned.
I'm saying is if we tied them all together, if it's cheaper this way, we own them, could we get a better deal on all of them?
The issue or the reason that we would be getting such a great deal on these would be that would be similar to Evergy's contract with this company, and they would come over and service those when they service theirs. So as far as the sites around the county, that's kind of a little more complicated. I don't know that we can certainly look into it, but we're getting a good deal because this benefits both the company that's making the bid on it and us.
Do they provide toiletries and stuff too when they pump, or is that something we have to do?
They clean them. Under my understanding, they clean them, they service them, we provide the toiletries.
So is that something that Sherry and her team would just go around and do every time it was cleaned, or how?
Periodically check them as we go through the park.
And do we do that with Gherkin now?
Toiletry.
I can't answer about Gherkin. I'd have to look at the contract. I know they clean them and service them. I can't answer the toiletries or the hand sanitizer. I don't know that far down on the contract, or would have to at least look at it.
Ought to look at it, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I'd say that they'd probably provide them. I mean, on job sites I've had them on, they provide it.
I would guess that they do, but again, I don't like guessing, so I would have to look at that contract, but I do know they clean and they service it. But either way we go with the cost difference, because they service ones in our area on that same schedule, that's, I mean, half the cost the second year is considerable. And we would have to notify Gherkin to get out of that contract. They would deliver, we would be purchasing the porta potties that we're talking about buying from them. So when they came to pick up theirs and we ended that contract, they would deliver and drop off the ones we purchased.
I'd like to see us check that to see if, what they do on their whole of ours. Do you guys?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Making sure the toiletries and stuff, and see what about that.
It's fine. Okay.
The next is the park fees. Let me get rid of that. This came in this morning because we went on a 7-day cycle, as you asked. Sherry did a spreadsheet on what she found for the week. You'll notice she went through the week, marked down between parking, tent, camping, extra camping RVs, rental sites of different costs. And she noted for the last 7-day period, what she found was a total of 8 parking permits that were unpaid and a total of 2 campsites, tent campsites that were unpaid, for a cost or a potential loss of $64 for the week.
Nothing in the RVs or anything else?
She collected those, or how?
Yes. That's just marking down, as we said, we were unable to do the camera and match the tags and accurate. So she went through same time each day as much as possible for 7 days, checked the sites and recorded how many people she found in the park that were parking without a parking pass and or camping without a campsite paid.
And those were just during the normal operating hours,
Yes.
from like 9 to 5 or something.
Believe she checked all but this morning. She had to check it early in order to get the report out to me. I believe she checked the report at the end of business every day.
The last day here shows a Sunday anyway. What today's isn't on there.
What do you guys think of that?
So she checked last Monday after we spoke instead of doing this morning as we discussed. So you're correct. It's last Monday through Sunday as of yesterday. And her cost estimate or loss estimate was $64 for the week. Obviously, that can change with weather, time of year, holiday, but that's the best estimate she can give you for a weekly potential loss as far as not having gates or the system in place that you're discussing.
What, roughly $250 a month, not including her time of going around and checking everything, not getting there at an early time when some people would be. What do you guys think?
And she's checking, or somebody that works up there is checking these things during the day, every day.
Not every day with the one employee that we have that's been out and then a part-timer. I can't say that we religiously do that every day, but as often as possible because they are shorthanded currently. And you're talking the horse camp. I mean, from the marina, you're never going to see anybody that drives. Obviously, they don't pass the marina if they go down there and go fishing or whatever. But those things we wouldn't know about.
I mean, typically, how long does it take her to go around and do that a day?
Depending on how many people you have in the park, it's going to take you approximately 30, 45 minutes at least. Because you're going to check all the tent camping on that end, all the way to the horse trails on the other end, or horse camp on the other end, and the park and the cabins in between.
Take 5 years to pay for the gates. If we're not collecting any of that money, if we're not catching any of them, it would take us 5 years.
My point is that, I mean, a lot of people are up before 9 and out of there before she even checked the tags. So And they're using the bathrooms, they're using the showers, washing their clothes. And beyond that, I think the safety. We don't hire any law enforcement to do any rounds through there, do we? I just think we have to do something. And then the gates, that goes over to the reserving process that we have that I don't think is very sufficient. Year to date, we've spent, our income totals is 174,199. Our expenses are 165,043, and our gain is 9,155. But that doesn't include the employee benefits. That doesn't include the expense that we had for the dredging of the
Lagoon.
lagoons. That was what, 140 or what was it?
141.
In my opinion, what we're doing there right now is not working. I mean, I guess it's working, but it's not. Jim, what do you think?
Don't look real good now, but if we're gonna spend that much more money and get the monthly charge, I don't know how much more. I think we need something else up there to draw people in first, but I don't know what that is. I think that's our problem.
Well, I think if we let her focus on the draw instead of trying to micromanage that everybody's paid and babysit everybody, I think she could be able to do her job more sufficiently. Right now, she's mowing, you said, Sean?
I'm sorry.
She's mowing? Our manager at the,
Until Robert gets back, she is mowing, but she's doing the large tractor work when she's not in the marina, doing the brush hog work. And I believe he's going to be back shortly, in some form or fashion, and we'll start catching back up as far as hours and tasks, but they have been rather shorthanded for some time.
I mean, the lagoon's not a draw, and did we adjust any of the pricing to make up for that?
We have not currently, but you are talking about, that I know of, the first time that lagoon's been dredged since it's been put in. So if you take the cost and divide it out by the decades that that system has been in use, and we pull money or put money aside for the future on a 10-year cycle to clean out the first cell, then we should be able to maintain the first cell and not allow it to cascade into the other cells and have to go through this process like we did. There's always going to be maintenance on it, but to have to do it all at one time, that was a huge project because it had been decades. And I can't answer to you until we look at the numbers as to whether or not this cost that we're talking about, whether we'd be money ahead taking part of that cost that we're talking about assessing to our campers for these services or for the gate or the new online camping, taking parts of those costs and just increasing the park cost and setting that money back for the lagoons or other services. Because once you increase it for the online services in the gate, it will be a little more difficult to get a draw, increase it without services being more than what they are, to increase it again after that to make up our losses. So until I run the numbers on it and look at it, I can't tell you which is going to be more cost effective. And again, a lot of that depends on the draw and what you bring in.
Which I think the reservation system that we have right now is a massive downfall for the lake. You got to come in on a Wednesday and reserve Thursday, Friday to be able to stay Saturday and Sunday. You can't reserve ahead of time, and people have to drive all the way down here to do that. No one's going to pick up their camper and just come down here and hope for a spot, right? I mean, that's how.
You have to reserve from the point that you get there at the kiosk. Yes.
You can't do nothing.
You can't
prior.
reserve prior to, or you physically have to be at the kiosk.
How can we figure out how much money we were losing there? Can we? Because I bet you we're losing a lot.
Now, Sherry's identified to me one of the other potential losses is a lack of full service sites and upgrades on a lot of campers nowadays are not 30 amp, they're 50 amp. They're larger campers and they expect full service sites, and we are limited to the number of sites that we have based on the plumbing and the site services and the lagoon and the pump that we have. So we would have to go out and see how many other sites we could add plumbing to make those full service sites, and have the electric looked at to see how many we could upgrade to 30/50 amp rather than just so many 30s and just a few 50s. We'd have to look at how many we could convert because the wiring down there is aged or dated.
And where are we at on the swimming part of it?
Oh, I've still got a email out to Evergy and waiting on their two boards, or I'm sorry, one safety board and their in-house counsel to review it and to return my email. I can send out another request or make a phone call to see where that's at again and report back next week, but they have not reached back out to me since my original request.
I think you should reach out to them again.
So what do you guys think?
I'm still where I've been the whole time.
Me too, actually. If I was gonna spend money, I wouldn't mind looking at a bid, see if what it took to make more
More
camping
sites.
spots.
With power.
Huh?
With power.
With power, and add some camping sites there. And see what that would take for us to get.
But how often are the camping sites filled up though, Sean?
It's rare that we have all of them filled up. As I said, you may not be making essentially new campsites. What you would be doing is making new full service sites, attracting more people that wanted larger amperage and full service sewage sites, because that's what we get the most calls on, is people going other places because all of our sewer sites are filled up and they don't want to haul sewer or move their camper every so many days to go up and dump it and reset it back in the site.
Or hopeful wishing that they have a spot when they pull their camper down here.
So
I mean, so you guys against the gates?
Still, yes.
So are you against hiring somebody to help her out there? somebody with law enforcement background that can, I don't think it's safe for her to be going around to every single campsite, asking everybody for their permit. She's out there mowing, she's running the marina. How's she managing anything? We have her doing oddball shit all the time. I don't expect it to grow. She has to continue to do that. Sean, do you think it's safe for her to be going around to every campsite like that and checking everything out?
I would have to ask her whether she checks it, or I think, I can be wrong, I think the receipt from the kiosk is supposed to be posted on the electrical box so you can see it, and your cars are supposed to be in the window. So the ones that she would be making contact with would be the ones that don't have those, or she would be leaving a card saying, hey, I don't see your receipt, whether she made contact with them or they're out fishing. She would leave a business card or a note on their windshield saying, stop by the kiosk and pay your parking or whatever. So I know originally when I first took the park on as a manager, we had a lot of issues and concerns. A lot of those were dealt with. In order to get a feel for what she has to deal with, I would have to bring her in here or talk to her, because I don't know how much physical contact she has, or whether she has still. I know I dealt with one gentleman in the last 30 to 60 days who was sideways with her over a disagreement and brought it to my level to manage. And that's the only disagreement I'm aware of in the last 2 months. So, but as far as whether she feels safe doing those things, I'd have to get with her and answer that question, because I can't comfortably speak for her.
Do you feel there's a lot of traffic that come in after hours and leave before everybody rises and showers and does laundry and whatever they need to do?
On the off season, once the bathhouses in some other lake houses or lake communities that have people living in them full time shut down, you will see traffic flow come in. And we will see traffic flow come in after hours, because our campers will tell us about it. They'll tell us, you've got the same car showing up 3 nights a week doing laundry, and it's normally when the bathhouses are shut down and full-time residencies around us. Now, are we able to make contact with them? In most cases, tell them, hey, look, you got to get a parking pass, you got to do these things. Those services are for park patrons only. But I think we also agreed at one point, and you'd have to correct me if I'm wrong, that if there is a lake community that shuts down in our area, shuts their bathhouse down and services are not available for a minor child, that because we're a county park, if there's a minor child using that shower house to get ready for school or anything of that nature, of course we would.
We can go back to every excuse in the world like that.
Well, but I think that's the only caveat. If I told you I threw everybody out, I would be lying, because if there are families that didn't have a service for a kid, I did not. So how that's handled and how many we have in the off season, that varies. How many lake communities still have people full-time there? That I know Tanglewood, I think, has already shut down their bathhouse early this year. So, and there's still people coming from Missouri that we had in the past that we've dealt with, over in small residential communities over there that have come over for years that we've had to deal with. How many of those are still showing up? It's been a couple of years since I've been down there. So again, I don't want to not answer your question, but I also don't want to answer it incorrectly.
So no, you guys know on the gates?
Yep.
Okay, what about the reservation?
What's that cost? What was the fee on that monthly fee? 100?
on the top.
This is just a sewer.
Yeah.
All those fees we're going to be able to pass along.
That's correct.
What do we do with the permanent campers there then with this? They just pay monthly ahead and
I think did she talk about the permanent campers?
Those would have to be left off of those site rentals, not put on that site and then managed out of the office.
And we would still have the kiosk if we decided to go back to that, if we tried this for a while and determined it wasn't working, or would we be?
You would still have it as far as your service agreement on that. I'd have to check to see what it would take to start it back up. You know, as far as software on all that. But physically, we own the kiosk that sits out front.
I mean, would you, if you lived in Johnson County and you were coming down here would you hook onto your camper and drive down here hoping for a place? Or would you just go somewhere else? That's my point.
Okay.
We're $133,000 in the hole at the lake, right? If you count the dredging.
you're more than that. If you take your benefit package and everything else.
Well, I mean, that's where I'm at. We either try to make a difference or be done with it, one of the two.
Well, to me, with the gates, Danny, we'll just keep it digging ourselves a hole unless we find something that we can get the people, draw the people in there. As far as this here, if it didn't cost any extra to us, I don't have a problem with the online myself, as long as we can pass the cost on. If you think that's better, I don't have a problem with that.
What do you think?
I'm in agreement with that.
If you think that will make it to where we get more people there, if you're passing all the expense on to them.
I just feel it would. I mean, it only makes sense to me. I've had multiple people complain to me about having to,
Not up there to do it.
yeah, and they have to come all the way down here to do it, or, waiting for a fishing tournament or whatever the case may be. They have to come down days before and rent the space, and they're not guaranteed anything.
And I don't know if this will work, but if you have people renting it for the 4 or 5 days, in order to get it to you might end up costing her some money,
Yep.
But I don't know that, but it could.
I just think the way we're doing it right now is not,
What?
I just think the way that we're doing everything right now is not working.
It could not work this way though, but
It could,
I don't
yeah.
have a problem with Ryan, if you choose to, if you want to. This here, I don't want to spend that much money right now because I don't think it, until we figure out some way to get people to come down. Whether it's a swimming or other things we could do.
I'm good with that.
If you want to move forward on this, I don't have a problem with it. If we can pass the cost on to the,
So Sean, can you reach out to her and get a contract with them going and on the reservation software?
I can reach out and then we'll have to talk to IT about the implementation and I can get a timeline and schedule for you. And then come back and tell you how much we need to pass on and what we need to change the cost.
As far as our fee
Or-
schedule. Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay, noxious weeds, continuing to spray Johnson grass between rain and threat of rain this week, beginning after July 4th holiday and running into the second week of August. They've sprayed for Johnson grass, bridges, guardrails, culverts, approximately 300 miles of roads, counting both sides of the roads, mostly paved roads. Again, this will continue through August into September. If the road crews notice specific roads or areas with Johnson grass that need sprayed or mowed, feel free, or residents or road crews notice this, feel free to contact Noxious Weed Department so they can make that area a priority. And we're still issuing cost share vouchers to residents as needed and continue to encourage those that qualify to contact us to participate in the program. Next week, do an inventory on herbicide, pest control chemicals, and other pest chemicals, getting ready to put orders in for the next year. Next item I had for you was,
Sean, hold on real quick. Nancy, I know that you probably have to get back over to lunch. Can we let her go really quick?
that's the next item I have. for
Okay.
you.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Nancy, come on.
Thank you, I appreciate it. As you all know, we're now serving lunches out of the new senior center. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. It's so nice. We're going to have a grand opening next Sunday from 2 to 4. We're going to serve refreshments and and I've gotten some free gifts from the merchants there in Pleasanton. So we'll have door prizes. And so we would like to invite all of you and if maybe somebody could come by and just speak for the county. And I think it's going to be a building that you guys are going to be really proud of. We want to say a special thank you to Sean and Mike. They have really helped us in a lot of ways. And so I've got a couple flyers, and if you guys would like them, and if somebody could come and just say a couple words of welcome, we would appreciate it.
Will you be able to attend, Danny, or?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. You guys want to?
Can I give these to you? Oh, okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you very much.
David, is that something we need to know whether more than one would be attending or have to deal with it in any way, shape, or form?
I mean, as long as they're not talking to each other about county business, it's not a problem.
Okay.
I would just caution on that,
Commissioners, if you could give me 5 minutes for executive session for non-elected personnel, that would conclude what I have for you today. With the exception of the job descriptions, whenever you're ready to deal with those, or you have recommendations or want to send them to me in writing, or however you want to deal with that.
sure when you want to do what on here now, but I did mention earlier that Amanda's message to make it. If you wanted to deal with what she was talking about, or just an update anyway, she was planning on being here to talk to you about the advisory board. Been discussion of dissolving it last week or for some time. I did look, and it was created by resolution, so if that's what you want to do, you need to develop a resolution to cancel that one. But that's really what she was planning on coming to talk to you about. So
That was her recommendation to do that.
I think from what she said before when she was here, she didn't see a point in keeping it. If you guys would like, I could go ahead and get a resolution ready for another meeting and then
Talk with her.
talk with her, make a decision at that time.
Sounds good.
I'm good with that.
Is that all, David? Is that all you had, David?
Yeah.
Sean, you want to go in for, you said 5 minutes, non-elected personnel?
That's correct. And if, I don't know whether you want to do it now, you want to go with Darren, I'm available anytime.
You guys, are you in a hurry? You guys want to go ahead and get Sean out of the way, and then we'll come back and deal with planning and zoning? I'll make a motion to go into executive session with Sean for non-elected personnel for 5 minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved and seconded. We'll be coming back at 11:18.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
What day was the senior center?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah. 3 to 4.
I'll put it in the can back. What?
All right, we had no action from executive session. All right, now we'll be moving into with Darren Wilson and planning and zoning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Darren Wilson, Planning and Zoning Director. I got a couple items on the agenda today. I have two positions open on the Planning and Zoning Commission in Commissioner Johnson's district. Do you have recommendations for that?
Yes, for the 3-year term, Donnie Reinerson from Blue Mound. And for Phil, the rest of the 1 year is Hal Eggers from Blue Mound. I've got numbers here if you want them.
I'll get them from you here in just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
You guys good with that?
Yep.
Well, I'll make my motion. My motion is to fill the 1 year term with Hal Eggers and the new 3-year term that was from I think Richard Morrell termed out, right?
Correct.
He's termed out now.
Correct.
Nominate Donnie Reinerson for a 3-year term in that one.
I'll second that motion. Motion been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Now, is that the only ones that are terming out this year? I mean, like, there's only one that terms out?
Yes, yeah, and Jason's got one in his district that terms out, but I haven't had a chance
Okay.
to move forward with that. But now, depending on what happens as I move forward with the next agenda item, I can get with Jason on that one.
Okay.
Planning and zoning, had a public hearing July 30th for prohibition on utility and commercial solar. They closed the public hearing on July 30th, and August 13th, they met and come up with findings. I'm here to present the recommendation to you commissioners. It was voted 7-0 for prohibition of commercial and utility scale solar. The Article 14, Section 14.4, prohibition of commercial and utility solar energy systems. All SECSs other than domestic SECSs allowed as accessory uses in accordance with this article are prohibited with the unincorporated area of Linn County, 14-402. A, the county has determined that non-domestic SECSs are incompatible with protection and enhancement of the rural character of the county, further limiting SECSs to domestic SECSs is consistent with the goals and objectives of preserving agricultural land and natural resources of the county, including environmentally sensitive areas as stated in the 2022 Linn County Comprehensive Plan. The 2022 plan further sets the objective of minimizing adverse effects of intrusive development and land use. The county finds that non-domestic SECSs would create such adverse effects of intrusive development due largely to the characteristics inherent to solar farms, specifically the extreme land use. That is the prohibition that will be added in Article 14. I've sent to you in your packets all the findings that they have had, or that they made. The findings were voted on 7-0. Planning Commission recommends a review of these findings and the updated regulations by legal counsel at the Board of County Commissioners' earliest convenience. The Planning Commission recommends a prohibition of commercial and utility scale SECSs as per the attached updated Article 14 regulation. I prepared a resolution, number 2024-24. My recommendation on this resolution would seek legal counsel on this because I am not an attorney, and this would be the resolution that you're adopting. Also in the findings, it states the background of where we started from and how we got to where we're at today.
Is there any concern over the fact that it uses the comprehensive plan that was ran through the mud and said was invalid?
So
Have they made changes to the comprehensive plan?
So in February, I had on the agenda, I think it was February, maybe January. In our bylaws, it recommends that planning and zoning go through the comprehensive plan. I put that on the agenda. They spoke about it and made no changes. I think it might have been February because in January, we had a big caseload that day and they tabled that part of it. Would you like the resolution read?
Yeah, if you could.
Resolution number 2024-24, a resolution to prohibition of utility and commercial solar energy conversion systems in Linn County, Kansas. Whereas under KSA 12741 and KSA 19-101 state statutes, Linn County has the inherent power and the statutory authority to regulate land use and rural development through zoning regulations. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners of Linn County, Kansas passed Resolution 2023-49, providing for a temporary moratorium on approval of solar energy conversion systems in the unincorporated areas of Linn County, Kansas. Whereas the Planning Commission for Linn County, Kansas has made a recommendation for utility and commercial solar conversion systems to be prohibited to amend the Linn County zoning regulation, Article 14, Section 14-4. Now therefore be it resolved that in this resolution, the definition of commercial solar energy conversion systems shall mean systems that convert sunlight into usable electricity for the primary purpose of sales of off-site use. Commercial SESs are conditional uses in the A zoning district and the comprise 0 to 160 acres. Now therefore be it resolved that in this resolution, the definition of utility solar energy conversion systems are systems that convert sunlight into usable electricity for the primary purpose of wholesale sales or off-site use. Utility SESs are conditional use in the I-1 and I-2 zoning districts and comprise over 160 acres. Be it resolved that the building, construction, operation, or installation, either in whole or in part, of any commercial or utility solar energy conversion systems is hereby prohibited in Linn County, Kansas, per zoning regulations, Article 14, Section 14-4.
What was the number, 2024-24?
2024-24. Yes.
David, in the event of a lawsuit, we have insurance through K-Camp, correct?
Yes.
And how is that, would that go forward?
So typical coverage on that is it pays for half of the attorney fees. Without getting a coverage document out and reviewing everything, I couldn't give you every detail. However, I believe if there was a monetary settlement, we would be responsible for that. It's mainly the attorney fees that they're covering part of. Now, there may be some more to it than that, but we'd have to review the coverage document to get all those details.
Okay.
Well, I think as the commissioner, as a board, we've done our duty and allowed them to have their forums. I think that we gave everybody the opportunity to talk. I feel like my job as a commissioner is just be a line leader for the people that put me here. And I know exactly what they want. I attended the meetings, and I would agree with their recommendation.
I feel that planning and zoning went to great lengths to give people the opportunity to speak and what went on. I'm good with their findings too.
I would
I'd like to thank the board for all the time they spent, because they went to a lot of time and effort to, with lots of meetings, to determine what I think, what Linn County wants, or what I see Linn County wants.
And with that, I would make a motion that we accept their findings and their recommendation on prohibiting solar in Linn County. Beyond that, I'd like to, what kind of motion would we have with that? I would accept it, but then, because we need to send it to legal, right? To get it checked out.
Accept the findings, accept the new wording for section 14-4, and to adopt resolution 2024-24.
So are you wanting to send it for legal review before you do the resolution, or where?
Well, I mean, how should we do that? I mean,
That's going to be up to what you guys want to do. I think it would be not an unusual thing to get some legal advice before you took a big step, but that's still going to be up to the three of you.
I think we should get legal involved.
I think we're good to move on.
what was our, I mean, what were our options? I mean, our options have been the same since day one, right? We either accept it.
Yeah, so you
Send it
can
back.
accept it, send it back, table it, or adopt it.
It's actually just putting a prohibition on solar.
Then my motion will stay the same as I'll accept their findings and adopt resolution 2024-24 to ban solar in Linn County.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 2-1.
That's fine.
So next week is our evening meeting, right?
Right. I got a couple other things we could bring up if you still got a few minutes before you need to get out of here.
You got something?
Sorry to interrupt. I've got, I need to get with Commissioner Hightower to find somebody for his district.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
I have a question too, David, on our official paper. We only have to have one, right? I mean, and
Right.
it's the only one that we,
That's the one we have to put notices that we are required to notice someone in.
and we're paying two papers right now.
For a lot of them, we haven't been putting everything on both.
I think I'd make a motion, we go back to one paper. I think it's a redundancy of having two papers. We're only required to have one.
Right.
And I
How do you
feel we need to spend the money.
So this would be like only use the official paper for legal publications. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. Anything that's,
So you're cutting out the journal, is what you're saying, right?
that would be correct.
Okay.
We're only required to have one, so.
You any thoughts on it?
Are we ever going to move past anything?
I don't know if you can take that as a personal jab at them. I mean, I'm not speaking for you, Jim, but I think he's just trying to save money. I think it's an issue.
Okay.
I think I was the one that had the bigger.
Well, we spent $2,900 at the Journal as of today, is what we spent. And I don't see that's,
Okay.
why do we need to spend that? So I make a motion, we just discontinue it and go to the Linn County News as our, one official paper.
I'll second that. Motion been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 2-1.
You have time for another thing or two?
Yeah.
You voted last week to change the towing policy, I believe. And Jason worked on that, sent me a copy, and I went through and kind of reformatted a little and got one worked up. I didn't know if you were ready to pass that policy today or where you're at on it. Yeah, I got printed 2 copies if anybody else needs to look at them.
Towing policy with them. Yeah, that's it.
So on there, at the end of number 2 is where I put in that one phone number will be used by dispatch for each approved towing company. It is the towing company's responsibility to make accommodations if they are unable to cover their shift. Then if you drop down, so I did not change anything in the list of requirements there, but I did add upon submitting proof of meeting these requirements to the county clerk's office, proof of meeting these requirements to the county clerk's office. A sticker will be given annually to approved towing companies. And then the other section that I changed is under number 5, where it says that I added in, which is defined as 40 minutes from the time of call from dispatch, depending on weather and other non-controllable factors. The towing company will have a write-up performed by the officer on scene and added to their file. Upon 3 write-ups, towing companies will be required to appear before the Board of County Commissioners to determine if any of the following consequences from prior actions are to be taken. That's it.
Now, how do we, I know those guys said they would work it amongst themselves. If somebody couldn't cover, they'd pick it up for somebody. How are we going to verify that? I mean, that happens, that somebody don't come back and say they got jumped around or
I think it has to be documented
by somebody.
by the dispatch.
It should be documented that they passed it on to.
Well, and we've said in there that they will make the accommodations, the towing companies, not dispatch.
I know, but how do we verify that, I guess is what I'm saying. It probably needs verified somewhere.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, beyond that, on the dismissal of that company or of Dave's towing for 12 months, I did send a official email to Dave or to
6 months.
Kevin for his removal of the tow company as of 12 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So,
Okay.
but I mean, I don't know. Surely one of them will.
just work through it and let them go on.
Yeah, I think if there's a problem, somebody's gonna let us know about it, really, or let Kevin or somebody know, the sheriff's department.
I'm good with that.
As far as the sticker, do we just want something that's easy for the deputy to see in the back window, or how do you guys want to do that? Just something bright color that says Linn County on it, or verified Linn County, or
Have a tag or, I mean, just a little placard or anything, couldn't it? I mean, to verify that.
we can just look up something on the internet and just bring it next week with an idea and go from there. You guys
That'll be
good?
fine.
I'll make a motion that we adjust this policy for the tow for 2024-02 with the corrections that Jason stated, the addition that he had stated.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved to second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And Danny, did you ever reach out to the architect on the courtrooms?
I did. I did. I talked to Larry a few times, and I was over there last week. I came in and me and Sean tried pulling up drawings of the jury room, and we couldn't find anything. And I sent pictures over to Larry. He told me things to look for with something that was supposed to be draped over the top of the room, which isn't there. I got pictures and stuff I sent him. I haven't heard back from him, but I sent that in a text. I'll probably go ahead and send it in the email just so he has it. But yeah, Sean and I tried looking up the plans and we couldn't find anything that was significant for any decision on, what's happening over there. So, but I did go over there and check with them and told district courts what I was doing. And so I'll try to reach out to him this week. He was pretty fast on getting back to me last time, and he actually sent a follow-up message. So, so you see an email, there might be an email coming through to you, David, with plans on it from Larry Goldberg.
I haven't seen anything yet, anyway. Okay, move on to one more topic then.
Yep.
Okay, the only other thing I want to mention today, and I sent you all a copy of the budget as I had it worked up yesterday afternoon. I've got a couple of copies with me of the publication that I'll put in the paper, but I did work through it yesterday and get it down to where we were revenue neutral on the county funds. I actually went back and added a little bit into contingency just to get us right on that revenue neutral mark. But we had some changes, some of the things you guys had done that allowed us to, get down to that point. I included the cost of living and switching the sheriff's employees or the eligible ones over to KP&F. That part of it, getting them on KP&F will cost us around $200,000 a year. It's a little under that, but it's sheriff's and the two full-time with fire department would be eligible for that. So got all that worked up to be revenue neutral in the county. The only spot I'm not at the moment would be rural fire district, which is a special district, doesn't cover the whole county. I've got it just about 1/10 of a mil over neutral at this point. It would still take, 1/10 of a mil, about another, it'd be 30,000, I think, to get it down to neutral. I had talked with Randy and we came up with some places to cut, and I'd made those cuts. We were still just a little shy of getting there. It is still less than the current year's tax rate, but it's over neutral. We are okay publishing this way because you can still make changes that reduce taxes by the time it's approved at the hearing, which is 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
So unless you guys have got an issue with publishing like this, I'll get it out to the paper today to get it published. That will meet our 10-day requirement. Got the budget hearing scheduled for September 3rd, which is actually a Tuesday, but that's Labor Day week, so our meeting would be Tuesday anyway.
There's no way we can get it down to before we publish it. I mean, is there any way?
Well, I'm not sure where else we could cut in that one without hurting anything at the moment. But like I say, there's really nothing wrong with publishing and then making some cuts either. I mean, you could say, go ahead and cut so much more and get it down, but is that really where you're going to leave it? Or is there other options we could look at between now and then?
Well, I know one, I reached out to Mark Hagan over on Friday and talked to him about the juvenile intake. Because whenever he went on, we were talking about Johnson County still.
Yeah.
But we're covered with Girard till the end of the year. But that could potentially.
I cut a bunch out of
You
that
did?
for
Okay.
next year. I left some money in there in case we do have a person that needs that service, because we would have to pay for the service we get. But I can tell you here in a second what I left in that. So that's part of the general fund. Just gotta find the right line item. I actually left $10,000 in there for next year, which is probably way more than we need, but that's as opposed to the almost 63,000 we spent this year.
Right.
Okay.
How much?
That's not going to affect rural fires levy though, because that's general fund.
Right.
So,
That was just something I talked to Mark about when we were
Yeah.
changing.
but like I said, I did cut over 50,000 out of that from where we were this year.
How much did we put back in the general fund from the sheriff or from the jail?
From
Revenue.
income.
Yeah.
So this year, I think I just took where we were with year to date and took that times however many more months, and I'm a little over 1.3 million. I put 1.4 in next year's as potential income from prisoners. I think Kevin talked about going up to like 1.5 next year, but I'd rather be a little conservative on the income side in case it doesn't all come in and not put us in a bind.
So you just put 1.3 back in the general fund is what? For
This year, but next year I scheduled 1.4 that we should receive.
So even though we're over, you say you can publish it, but we can still change it?
You can still reduce the budget and in effect reduce the tax levy up until the time you make the final approval, which would be September 3rd. You just can't go up once it's published. And that would be going up on any particular fund. I really think on the fire, I would prefer you guys maybe get Randy in next week when he's back and see if you can work out places to make those cuts if you want to get it down some more, because he
I would be in favor of that.
gave me some ideas, and I did work with what he had, but I still was not able to get it quite there without doing something else. So
Okay. I'm good with that if we bring him in and speak.
Do you need a motion to publish?
not necessarily. Just wanted to bring it to your attention of where we were and let you know where we were at on it.
You got something, John?
If you could, I've got a last minute email that came in. Can you give me another 5-minute executive session for non-elected personnel? It shouldn't take very long. We can get it taken care of and gone.
Yep. David, you got anything else?
I think that does it for me.
All right, then I'll make a motion. We go in executive session for 5 minutes with Sean for non-elected personnel.
I'll second that.
Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioners, I've received a letter from Mike Nation advising us that today he's given us 2 weeks' notice. I would ask you to accept his resignation and allow me to publish for operator's position.
I'll make a motion that we accept Mike Nation's resignation with thanks for the job that he's done for Linn County and post his position.
I'll second. Motion been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next week, our meeting's at, what time is it? 5:30. 5:30? You guys good with 5:30? You want to start earlier, later? You guys good with it?
It's fine.
5:30? All right. we'll see you all next week then. And with that, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.